There's something really special about Expedition 33. Well, okay, there's actually a lot of things that are special about it, but I think one of the things that a lot of people are really excited about is just how mature the storytelling feels. And a big part of that, I think, comes from how quickly it gets you emotionally invested in this world and its characters. I want to talk a little bit about why and how it's doing that. And I'll be bringing my experience as a therapist into that discussion on how we can actually learn to live with some of the things that these characters also have to go through. Because that's one of the great things about it, is it does set up an extreme version of something that we all have to deal with, between relationships, finding meaning, and dealing with the fact that we're all going to die. And the reason this game really caught my attention in the prologue is that there is such a focus on like existential dread, which is like my favorite topic in psychology. My main practice in therapy is existential therapy. I use a lot of narrative interventions and that sort of thing. And so a lot of it is actually how we try to find meaning in our experiences, which is exactly what this game wants to visit right away. And so there is one theory that I want to bring in to this discussion early on that I think this game completely nails its depiction of. And it is called Terror Management Theory, or TMT. And the main idea here is that we all know we're going to die. We all have an awareness to our mortality. And that's kind of a strange thing, that we can think about it and anticipate it. And terror management theory suggests that a lot of our behaviors, both in a personal sense, but also in like a sociocultural sense, can kind of be explained by the fact that we know this is coming. And so we're all on kind of a continuum between being at peace with that and having some kind of existential dread about it. Or in terror management theory terms, it would be death anxiety. And you exist somewhere here, right? There's a lot of people who are like totally okay with this. And that's great, okay? Like that's the goal, to be at peace with this, because it is not something that we can escape. But it is really interesting to look at how we actually can make some movement on this continuum if it is something that does create a lot of existential dread for you. And the reason I'm bringing in this perspective for Expedition 33 is because this is something we're all dealing with. This theory tries to explain like our own reality. And we're on a certain timeline with our own deaths, right? We know what the average human lifespan is. We also know that it can happen unexpectedly. But the setup of this game is about making it very clear that you are going to die at a certain age. In this world, there's a mysterious figure known as the Paintress, who every year paints a new number that is counting down from 100, and we're at 33 at the start of this story. And for anyone who is that age right now, they are going to die. And just that fact alone is basically what contextualizes all of the amazing world building that is going on in this story. Because it's kind of putting all this stuff under a microscope, right? We're not constantly thinking about death. Maybe like sort of subconsciously, we're doing things to make ourselves at peace with it. And we'll talk a little bit about what some of those things are. But really anything that you're doing in terms of like the career you're pursuing, the family you're trying to start, the legacy that you want to leave behind, a lot of that stuff is about becoming more at peace with the fact that your time is temporary. We expect to have long lives, or at least we hope we do. But for the people in this world, they know it's coming.
I can't imagine what you're going through.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I've lived 33 good years. Look around. We've had our whole lives to prepare. We're all fine. Mostly.
I'm not fine.
You will be.
They know exactly when their time is up. And so this really compresses all of the psychological issues that we're going to experience across the lifespan as we deal with existential dread, like all of the natural life cycle crises that we're going to experience. Like these people get them all pretty much back to back. And that makes for a really interesting setup to a very emotional story. So how do the people in Lumiere, the city that we start the game in, dealing with this? One of the really brilliant things about this game's setup is it gives you a lot of different perspectives on this issue right up front. And there is some nuance between some of these perspectives around like how do we deal with the fact that we all know exactly when we're going to expire? But there are two sort of main ideas that it shows a contrast to. One of those is the side that tries to be at peace with this by almost treating the event, which they call the Gommage, as kind of a celebration of life.
The last few days meant everything.
That's for your, if there's room.
There's always room.
They don't know why the paintress does this. They don't know what this is for. There is no naturally occurring meaning prescribed to this event. And so you can see that in that circumstance, a big contingent of their culture tries to create meaning out of it by applying some ritual and reframing the event as an opportunity to become aware of the transience of life and the beauty of knowing that you get to say goodbye.
Kinda nice in a way. Having a deadline forces you to prioritize. It's a bit freeing as we get closer to the end.
You can really find the silver lining in everything, can't you?
No, it's just things don't always work out the way we want. No use getting upset, you know? Use what we can, leave what we can't.
And so that's one of the things that terror management theory suggests is a big part of how we move towards this end of the continuum. Having a sense of meaning will allow us to be at peace rather than be in existential misery about this thing that we can't change. There's another perspective, which is that do we have to accept that this is going to happen, that every generation of people until we're at zero is going to pass away and that there's nothing we can do about it? Can we try to find our sense of meaning in this by going on these expeditions to fight the paintress, to stop her from painting the next number so that we can end this cycle of suffering forever? Because on the other side of this continuum, the things that bring us closer to dread is a sense of loss. A sense of loss that doesn't feel like it has inherent meaning. And that's immediately given to us in the way that some of the characters you meet in Lumiere discuss the Gommage. Some of them really try to just say, look, this is all we can really do. We can celebrate the time that we have with each other and be at peace with that. Or we can resist that and try to be miserable and maybe lose ourselves earlier in the process. Because we're at Expedition 33. Like, none of them have been successful. And so for the people who do not see the expeditions as a worthwhile endeavor, that's something that creates existential dread for them when they'd rather be at peace.
The expeditions. What a joke. All they do is leave us here to die. They're just escaping.
You know their goal is to save us all, right?
Yes, that's what my father told me last year, before he left for Expedition 34.
There's so much emotional pain wrapped up in this too. The messiness of human emotions don't stop just because they live in this strange world.
And here we are again this year. We could have spent one more year together instead of wasting it away.
Your father fought to offer you a better future.
I have no future. I know it and I've accepted it. We're doomed.
And then even in the Gommage is okay camp, there's a fracture between a nihilistic perspective, like there's no future, I might as well just accept that this is like the miserable fate, versus people who can see some beauty in knowing your time is coming and preparing for it. I think that's where Sophie lands.
Never know. This expedition might be different. There are some special people in this one.
Yeah, right.
I'm content with my life. I know what I can and cannot change.
I don't want to have regrets. I don't have that much time.
When the time comes, you'll make the right decision. I'm sure.
Thank you. Give this to your boyfriend. My father gave it to me, but it might be more useful for him.
Even someone who does feel a little more hopeless is grasping out for a sense of meaning. even to something like the expedition. We just gave her hope. That's what we did. But for the people who want to go on the expeditions, like it's hard not to empathize with that as well. Like, we want the same thing. We all want to keep living. Like, we don't want to die, but this is how we're getting our sense of meaning. In the absence of prescribed meaning, like, let's go find it. Let's go see what's actually happening, and can we do something about it? For them, that is what is creating this direction of travel to hopefully be at peace, is if we can accomplish this thing, maybe we don't have to ask the question of, is this worth fighting for at all? And okay, so that's like the narrative setup, okay? And we're given that in like a cultural context. But this is where I actually think that the storytelling is so brilliant. And why it creates such an immediate emotional investment is because it takes that context, that juxtaposition between like how people are dealing with their existential dread, from that broader cultural perspective down to something very intimate. We're introduced to Gustav and Sophie, and they exist on the two different sides of this debate. Sophie is turning 33 today at the beginning of the game. It's time for her to Gommage, to say goodbye. She has no choice but to try to be at peace with this, because there is no more time to fight. Gustav still feels like there's a chance. And yes, he is also trying to be at peace with the fact that he can't prevent Sophie from passing, but maybe he can stop the next generation. Maybe if they stop the paintress, he can protect the life of his sort of adopted daughter, Maëlle, who is, I think, like 15 years old or something at the start of the story. So she would still have a couple of years left before she has to Gommage. And she falls more on Gustav's side of thinking. Like, yes, there's an argument to be made for, should I just try to live out those 9 years and have a very quality life experience here in Lumiere with people who care about me? Or do I try to fucking do something about it and like go and solve this problem?
I knew I'd find you here. Having second thoughts about the expedition?
Please. I'm more ready to go than you are.
Yeah, I know. Look, I know we've been over this, but as your guardian, I need to say this one more time. The rest of us only have a year left, but you've got 9 good years before your Gommage. You don't need to leave yet. It's a lot to risk.
1 year out there is better than 9 years in here.
So you can already see how like this existential dread, it drives different kinds of behavior, but both of them are about the same thing. Like, can we put ourselves at peace with this? But the direction of travel from that like broad cultural discussion to something very intimate really hooks us in to a personal, heartfelt connection to this issue, more than just kind of like an abstract theoretical one, which is what I absolutely love about it.
Thank you. Walk me to the harbour?
Yes.
It's like hard to breathe watching this stuff. It's so beautiful. I love that their relationship is not set up as something dramatic happened that keeps them apart. It's a inability to reconcile their just different emotional perspectives. And that makes it so that they can't always line up, right, on what they value. And maybe that means they can't necessarily be together. Why did they make that interactable? Literally a trash can. Why just that one? It's kind of odd. One of the other things that terror management theory positions as a way that we can be at peace with this is finding a sense of purpose, and along with that, like some kind of contribution to society. There's a perspective in here that says, if we can't be immortal, can we try to achieve a symbolic immortality by creating something of value for the next generation that sort of captures parts of our identity and lives on beyond us? And it's a really beautiful idea, okay? Like, we know we can't live forever, but can we create things that outlast us? And we see this in different characters as well. Even for the people who are like pretty at peace with not going on the expedition, this society doesn't just crumble. Like, there's still kids going to school, right? Maëlle mentions that like they get some kind of education. She like stole some grappling hook things from like the academic hall or whatever it is. You still have people like Gustav's sister, who is kind of upholding some of the traditions of the culture. There's people who are journalists, and there's like a flower girl who sets up like the ceremonial wreaths for people who are going to Gommage, and there's like dances, and there's like people maintain a drive for purpose and contribution in this world, even if they know that it's temporary. And like you and I know that it's temporary. Like, okay, my contribution to the world is like, I'm a therapist and a gamer, I guess. That's like what I'm contributing here. I know that none of this is really forever, but like that's okay, right? For me, a lot of this stuff comes from helping people live more meaningful lives themselves, you know, with some kind of guidance or education, or even just a relatable shared perspective that like this stuff matters, you know, living a meaningful life, even if it's temporary. Those are some of the things that like help me deal with my own existential dread. In a weird way, this channel and these creations, they do a lot for that. And for Gustav, and the side of the culture that looks at the expeditions as a kind of meaningful contribution, you can see that it's not just like the other side of the coin. It's either, oh, you Gommage and you're doing nothing, you're avoiding, or you're going on the expedition and you're taking action. It's really not that simplistic, which is another reason why I think this is a really nuanced and mature view on this whole subject. The expedition isn't just about taking action to solve a problem. There is a lot of investment in like carrying on the history of past expeditions, of celebrating the people who've given their lives for this. Gustav contributes not just by being a teacher to, you know, his apprentices, but he's also like an inventor. He's got this really badass like lightning arm that just blows shit up. It's really awesome. I hope I don't regret putting it on expert mode. We shall see. I reserve the right to change it back if I completely blow it. My gamer cred is on the line. Shit!
Losing to a superior fighter?
She actually is the superior fighter between us, though. Okay. Now I'm getting the cadence of it.
Your Lumina converter works better than your dueling.
We're gonna go with this. Let's see if I can get parry in. Shit! The slight delay to the attacks always gets me. I will not be ashamed at all if I lose to Sweet Mael. Do I have any? Oh yeah, I can do that. Why not? Needing to heal in the tutorial. Okay, now I'm ready. There we go.
For those who come after.
Yay! I beat a child in a duel.
You won. Now, don't you feel better?
And so I can imagine, like, even in the pocket of his mind that says, like, okay, if this doesn't succeed, is this all just a failure? He knows that he's contributing something, maybe to, you know, the next expedition working out. That's another thing that helps him be a little more at peace with the idea that, okay, maybe this isn't all going to work. And so on the other side of this, right, if our sense of purpose and contribution is lacking, some of the things that terror management theory suggests activate our death anxiety is a sense of failure. And this is one of the reasons I love terror management theory, because it does comprehensively look at, like, even what are seemingly unrelated events to death specifically, but like when you fail a test, the idea here is that, like, because this feels like a setback, you're losing some kind of time that you'll have to study more, time that you'll have to maybe be delayed in your next, like, educational milestone, time that you'd rather spend doing something meaningful or creative or fun, or like spending time with people you care about. It's not just failure in lacking competence, it's failure in loss of time. And loss of time is like, fuck, I don't have an infinite amount of it. Someday I'm gonna die. Okay, so like maybe you're not like really thinking about that so deeply when you fail a test, but like terror management theory is suggesting that somewhere deep in the crevices of your mind, you are kind of thinking about your own death when you have little setbacks. Same thing if you like lose a job or whatever, right? Like you're losing time, you're losing potentially like financial security that can, one, extend your life, but also make the end of your life more meaningful and retirement. Like, okay, look into terror management theory if you're interested, because like I like it for its attempt to universally explain human behavior as not directly a consequence of this, but at least relative in some respect. And that's one of the things that drives the existential dread of this society too, right? It's why so many people think that the expeditions are a waste of time. Like, it's losing people who we otherwise would have had maybe a couple more years with, and every single one has been a failure. Like, even just thinking about them creates existential dread when they're trying to be at peace. And so it's not a surprise at all that, like, let's say the majority of the people in this society are not invested in the expedition as the solution to this existential crisis.
What? Still mad I'm going?
This is the definition of a fool's quest. My brother's not usually a fool.
I've heard you say otherwise.
You and I both know the political complexities that necessitate the expedition. It's vital for morale, but it's a bloodless guillotine is what it is.
You should put that in your speech. Very motivating. They might just find a guillotine for you too.
There are so many things you can contribute to here in Lumiere that'll have a real impact.
Em, you're doing great work, really. Getting things ready for the last generation. You've got it well in hand here. Let me do my part, out there, and win us a chance to live.
It's why there's only like 5 tables set up for people to join the expedition, and it is declining every year, it's mentioned. And so it's just like little things like that I'm listening to as I play the game, and I'm like, man, they get it. They really do. It's so effectively like hidden in the text that, like, yeah, it's world building and everything else, but it is like all pointing to the same existential argument for like justifying why all of this is happening. Why are the characters doing this? Why do they feel this way? And why do you feel this way? Because you're playing this, okay, you're getting like invested in the story, and it's hooking into whatever ideas you already have about where you live on this continuum too. But I really, really love and respect that the game also doesn't like try to contrast these as like expedition good, fight against fate. Like that's the rational thing to do. And Gommage bad, that's failure, that's giving up. That, like, it doesn't do that. It really respects your emotional intelligence, and that's a very mature perspective to take. It does not want to look at this as like a two-dimensional thing where one of these ideas is inherently more virtuistic, and that the idea of like being at peace with something you can't change is like some kind of weakness. I don't see it suggesting that at all, and I love that.
You came.
I wasn't sure if I should.
You've been avoiding us. You didn't have to.
I heard Seba filled my spot after I left.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm a coward for staying?
Do you?
Not anymore. Not all of us can change the world. Some of us can only change ourselves.
That was a nice deflection, Gustav.
Meaning what? Make yourself accept the unacceptable? Make believe that happiness is this?
More like rediscover happiness. One Gommage left. Maybe contentment is the highest form of happiness.
It makes me sad to hear you talk like this. The painter stole so many things, including your capacity to dream.
I think that's what makes a distinction between Gustav's point of view and others, is that I'm sure he would agree that like maybe contentment is a high form of happiness if there was a reason we all had to go. If this was just the natural order of things, but he knows that it's not the natural order of things. He knows that the paintress is like an entity, some sort of external force that like there has to be an explanation and there has to be a way to stop it. If there wasn't, like, I think we all have to make that kind of peace that we all have an expiration date. And yeah, being at peace may be more important than being happy. But if you feel like there's a chance for an alternative, I think it's hard to resolve that for Gustav. It makes him feel like that's maybe more of a way of accepting defeat than it is just accepting by itself.
No, you misunderstand. My mind is where I can be free. She can't touch me there. This is my final act of defiance. Just like the expedition is yours.
If you say so.
I just love that it gives us a difference of perspectives. And it gives them equal narrative, weight, and validity. So alongside meaning, purpose, and contribution is a sense of self-esteem or a kind of identity, right? And that's kind of what I was getting at with, it's not just that Gustav thinks that going on the expedition is the better alternative to dying. He also just like enjoys this stuff. Like he's a history nerd. He likes tinkering with his fucking cool lightning arm and his badass gun sword combat style. So now I have enough overcharge. You can see the little like glinting effect on the X ability. It means it's ready to use its like primed effect. So maybe we can one-hit her with this.
For those who come after.
Oh, we're fucked. That didn't do it. Okay, I need to parry it. No! Fuck. Well, it's only appropriate that she takes the W.
Too slow, old man.
Like, he likes this stuff, okay? It's just a part of his identity more so than it is just his ideological preference. And self-esteem is deeply linked to terror management theory. The term that they use is that it buffers your death anxiety. When you see that these other things you're doing are reinforced in society. So, for example, like creating the Lumiere converter and having other people validate that that is a worthwhile endeavor, like that increases self-esteem. That makes us more at peace with what we're doing. The contribution feels real and valid and recognized. Sense of meaning and purpose established. Great. Less existential dread.
I'm counting on you.
No pressure, huh?
Oh no. Lots of pressure. You and Lune and your Lumina tech, that's our edge.
Thanks.
Real dream team.
Everyone has a role. Lucien, Tristan, Catherine, and you. You made us into we have a really good team, thanks to you. That's our edge.
And Gustav is also humble. Like, is there anything this guy is not? He's just perfect. He's in his flawedness.
Tomorrow comes, my friend.
And he's got flaws. What I mean by perfect is not that there's nothing wrong with him. There's plenty wrong with him. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making a therapeutic discussion series on this. But he's perfectly written, is what I mean, so far from what I've seen.
Doesn't it always?
He's the perfect character to lead this story, with his particular emotional damage. And so that also leads into another dimension that I'll mention, which is a sense of connection. Connection to people who, especially in this situation, have a shared experience. Like, this is something that everyone is going to have to go through and make sense of. And you can see how for some people in the world of Lumiere that this is really more a priority than some of the other ones. For those who decide, I'm going to have a family, even though I won't get to spend my life with them, there we can see that connection with other people really can drive away a lot of this existential dread. Whereas on the other hand, one of the things that really contributes to death anxiety is a sense of isolation, right? Part of why the people who go on the expedition are a little more driven by this is because they do feel a little more isolated in their mentality. There is less people who see it this way around. And that can be kind of alienating, right? It can make us feel less attached to the culture that we're in and the people who, they don't disagree with each other on like personality things. Like, it's one of the fucking things I love about this is a lot of the conflicts that are presented are not like dramatic in nature. They're emotional. Like Gustav and Sophie, it's not that they can't be together because they're not like romantically compatible, but like it's just really hard to align on where their sense of connection comes from because they have different ways of seeing the situation. And this is why like it really tugs at my heartstrings in this prologue, because when Sophie is about to pass away, it's revealed that she like sewed up his uniform, his expedition uniform. And it is this like way of emotionally communicating that even though they have this kind of emotional and ideological difference of views on the reality that they live in, Gustav's not isolated from her or her understanding of him. Like, she does still believe in the cause for him. She doesn't necessarily believe in it for herself, but that doesn't mean she disrespects it.
You did this.
I wanted to do something for you.
Soph. Why?
I wanted to see you wearing it.
Oh, you like uniforms now?
She still wants him to feel connected to her and to the world that he lives in, despite him going in a different direction. And it's so good. I think this is why it hits so hard and why I cried like an infant near the end of this prologue, as I'm sure many people did. But I also think that this is really where things start to take a deeply painful emotional turn, because there's this look that Gustav gets as Sophie is experiencing her Gommage. Which to me is the deepening of his convictions, because as Sophie is passing away, he sees that she is still afraid. There is still a longing for something different, like a longer life, more time with him, more time with everyone. And I think that this convinces him that everything that people are doing to be at peace still isn't enough. And so it like even more pulls him in the direction of like, okay, this has to be stopped, because while I accept that people will take this route to be at peace, it's not okay. I'm not okay with it. And he thinks that deep down, neither are they. And so we go on the expedition. And all of this like existential dread and search for meaning is built up and concentrated in this chance of a lifetime. His sense of meaning, his sense of purpose, his identity, his sense of connection, they are all driven by this one endeavor. And he has just been given complete validation that this is the right thing for him to do. And at the height of his investment, what does it look like then when the expedition begins like this?
Thanks to you. Expedition 33.
All right. I'm feeling optimistic about this.
You're old. How did you survive the Gommage? Which expedition are you from? Fall back! Come on! Move! Fucking snap out!
Fucking masterpiece. Like, come on, it's so good. the buildup of how like hopeful and emotional everything is to it just immediately going so badly. What a fucking punch into the beginning of this game. How immediately crippling to the whole ideology. And then this like visual juxtaposition that we're like somewhere beautiful when my dude is like completely fucked up. Damn. Gustav's entire worldview is built around the idea that I'm a part of this lineage of people who is giving up this chance to live a quality life with the people I love so that I can stop unnecessary suffering for future generations. Like that's his entire reason for living at this point. Like that's the one thing that is keeping him from falling off the edge of existential dread here, that this has to be a success. And so for things to go this bad immediately, what is that going to do to someone? His sense of meaning is gone. Like this feels like an immediate failure. Like all of the time he spent preparing for this, his purpose is in question. What was this all for? What am I contributing if this is just another failure? His sense of self-esteem is completely shot. I mean, being frozen in that moment and unable to do anything, that sense of incompetence, like it can be so crippling. And a sense of connection, feeling like everyone that he went on this journey with are all gone, just like that. It's extreme loss, failure, and isolation, all of the things that pull us deeper into existential dread and away from being at peace. And the game has built us up to get invested in this. And it's given us these contrasting opinions, and it's positioned Gustav as like someone deeply convicted that this is the way to do it. And then it just completely fucks him with it. Like it's so masterful in its ability to bring you up to these emotional heights and then take you to extreme emotional depths. And so what is that going to do for someone like Gustav? When these were the things that were keeping him alive, what kind of conclusion would that bring someone like Gustav to in terms of what else is left to do?
You do that, we both die. Hey.
It's been a while since I've gotten this deeply invested in a story. And so far, I'm about a dozen hours into my playthrough. So I've still got quite a bit of ways to go, but I'm very eager to see what comes next. In the next episode, I'm going to be talking about the formation of the party, because now we're deep in the existential dread territory. And so how do you start to build back up your tolerance to this, find a sense of meaning in what feels like an impossible scenario, and then how do you get shit done in it? How do you get shit done? And that's what we're going to find out in the next discussion episode. So I hope you enjoyed this first chapter in this series on therapist playing and talking about Expedition 33. And let me know what you think. This is kind of a new format for me where I'm trying to play longer chunks of the game at a time and do my analysis after that, and then kind of combine the two. It's the only way for me to get through like longer games in a shorter period of time. So I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. But yeah, let me know what you think. So this is kind of how the series is going to go, like a bit of analysis and some gameplay sections. And if you want to follow along with like the full gameplay of this, that's something I'm going to be making available to people who support the channel on Patreon. But I'm going to be doing my best to take anything good out of those and bring them into these analyses as well. Like, I don't want people to feel like they're missing out on something if they're not a supporter. Those sessions are really going to be quite rough. Like, there's not a lot of editing in them. And it's really just more like workshopping my ideas than actually doing any real commentary. So if you want to support the channel, that's an added benefit. I'm going to make the first episode of that available. You can find it in the description here. If you just want to see what that's like, if you do want to support, you're welcome to check that out. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to doing the next episode and seeing where things go from here. Expedition 33. It's fucking amazing. If you're not playing it, go play it. And if you have played it, stay tuned for more discussion on it. All right, that's the episode. I'm going to get back to playing it right now, actually. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon for the next one. Take care, everybody.
I'm not sure how to start.
It's perfect. It's just so perfect. Like, the natural way people speak, like they talk a little bit over each other, there's pauses. The emotional hesitation is there because of, it's just human nature. Like, despite they know the futility of their situation, Gustav knows that this is maybe the last time he gets to speak to Sophie, and yet it's like still hard to come up with what he wants to say. Like, it doesn't make it any easier. In fact, it probably makes it harder because it's the only chance he's got. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm so in love with this game's focus.
Ready to see her again.
On emotional storytelling.
Been ready.
Which is why I was like, I have to do a series on this. It's just too good to pass up. When, like, this is the kind of storytelling I want to see more in games. Not just because that's my general taste in games and storytelling, but like also from like my therapist's point of view, like seeing an emotionally vulnerable man as the protagonist who's like, that's not depicted as a weakness. It speaks to my soul. I just love it. I love Gustav. I love Mael. I love this world. I love everything about it. She is actually fucking the ace though. Like, in my squad, in my normal playthrough, she's my main damage dealer.
All right, now let's go find Sophie. I saw her near the red and white tree.
Yeah.
And I love any fighting style with a rapier, like that kind of sword fighting. It's just my jam.
Is lively.
I just love all the fighting styles, like sword and gun. Like, this game is just everything. It's everything good that I like. The unashamedly European-ness of it too. I can't get enough of. I think it's just masterful. I think it's masterful in getting you emotionally invested and then ripping away your justification for that investment. Like, you feel like he does, like questioning everything right now. What a beautiful, horrific introduction. Now, I've been a gamer for all my life. I know that if you put a waterfall in front of me, I'm gonna go check if there's an item behind it. And guess what? There is. There always is. So that's how I know the people who made this are true gamers as well.